Right, welcome to In the Stiffs podcast. We have got our second guest, and wow, what a guest we've got. We have got two-time Premier League winner, one-time FA Cup, 2 League Cups, 4 Premier League Golden Glove Awards, kept over 100 Premier League clean sheets, represent England under 19s and 21s, then 75 caps for the senior team. Played for Shrewsbury, Tranmere, Blackpool, Birmingham, Torino, West Ham, Burnley, Tottenham and Celtic, and his real name is Charles. We are currently sat in Glasgow in the servant quarters of Joe Hart's castle. We've had the longest journey ever, but we were picked up by Budgeon Motors, weren't we? Picked us up from Telford and Shrewsbury. Looked after us, Budgeon Motors, didn't he? You comfortable, Gav?
Very comfortable.
Problem is, Gav, when we take Dave somewhere, he's a bit big time, isn't he? Because there's Tesla. If it's not a Tesla, we pulled up in the Budgeon Motors vehicle, didn't we? And he's like, is that a Tesla?
First thing he said to me was, we're not flying.
Yeah, I know, yeah. It's like, Dave, he's playing for Bala now, aren't he? He still thinks he's in the Prem.
Come on, mate. Come on.
I didn't mind. The hospitality was good.
It was good.
Amazing. The vehicle was brilliant. Driver's quality.
A fridge full of beers, which is probably a bad idea now. 4 or 5 hours later trying to record.
Possibly.
We're very lucky. Thank you, Budgeon.
Right, let's crack on then. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, boys. Fine.
Pleasure having the big man, yeah.
Class.
Loved it. We've probably done a whole podcast before we got on air, but Joe, just to start, obviously, I touched on it slightly when I was talking about, I saw your dad a couple of years ago over at London Road, and we just got chatting, as you do, and I was saying to the lads the other day, it was amazing because I remember he was saying to me that he remembers when you were 2 years old, you walked out the patio doors out the back of the house, picked up a tennis ball and then threw it 20 yards over the back garden fence. And he said, he just thought to himself, he looked around and went, did anyone else see that? And then he was like, there might be something there then. Yeah,
I was just saying before, congratulations, lads. This podcast is a lot of fun. It's really kind of got me thinking about the olden days and stuff like that, and it actually made me ask that what you've just said there. A lot of people he's told that story to, but I never knew that, and I was actually asking him questions about why, when I was younger, did I never really see the bigger picture? Why was I never really focused on or letting pressure get to me or thinking about the repercussions of something not going well? And he actually went straight to that, and he said when you were 2, he actually said I caught a ball or something above my head, and then tried to whiz it back to him and overcooked it.
Like in a teapot volley type thing?
Yeah. And he said from then on in, he knew that something was going to, in his opinion, which I'm sure many fathers have thought, that something was gonna happen with his son. But and rather than getting excited about it, I thanked him for it. I literally had this conversation 6 days ago, maybe not even that, and I said, look. And he said he knew something was going to happen. In his opinion, I was going to be okay in the sporting world. And he really he had 2 choices. He could have started pushing me and telling everyone how great. So he just backed right off and just he trusted the path and trusted what he saw, and let me do what I needed to do, and kind of installed a lot of grounding in me in terms of how he wants his children to represent him as a father, which I bring into my life now, and then let the rest take care of itself. And I just asked him why did I not know? Why did I never feel that I was supposedly going to be destined to something? And he was like, well, I didn't need to tell you, and that's not how you thought, so it worked. So I just left it be.
Because we had the conversation on the way up as well, and we were all in agreement. Like when you were at training, even at that young age, you were very carefree, almost like I'd go into training with a little bit of fear, knowing that I've got to meet certain standards and requirements, and you were very carefree, but almost childlike in your approach, just having fun.
I'd say I'm still like it, and I don't see any way to see it. I'm playing football. I'm going out with a bunch of guys who want to play football, who want to compete, who want to have the edge, but I'm literally just having a great time, mate, and that's how I see it. And the moment it becomes something else, then maybe I need to look at football differently. I was assured, actually, training on scat pitches. Remember Big Davy Riddler?
Yeah, of course.
We spoke about Rids.
So I'm bouncing around having a great time, and he's like, can you swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
He was like, you'll fucking learn, young, and you'll learn, you'll see it. And it stayed with me, and I thought, at some point I'm going to see this as a job, but, and still don't see it Still don't see it as a job. Still absolutely love going out there. Still love diving at people's feet. Still love having people off and arguing and fighting. And long may that continue.
And that's the answer I was desperately hoping for.
Refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah, love it.
Refreshing. So going back to when you was a kid, then obviously very talented at different types of sports, but goalkeeping, when did that start for you?
So I've got a core group of friends that I've been close with for a long time. Davey, you've met them on nights out, but you'll have crossed paths, but you won't remember them. But my pal Fozzie, who I grew up with from the moment I was born, mums were friends and whatever when we were introduced, and he literally said one Sunday league, he was like, "What, you like rolling around in the mud? You go and goal." So I was like, "Yeah, sound, I'll go and goal." Enjoyed.
What age is this?
He tells me. I talked about it off air. He's a better reference for my career than I am.
Statter.
He just one of them people that remembers stuff. I just roll with it. He said it must have been, I don't know, 7, 8, playing for the local team, Sahar Colts. And so yeah, I jumped in goal, but I was like anyone. Anyone who's half decent at football doesn't go in goal, do they? So I always wanted to be outfield and scoring and stuff like that. But I also did enjoy going in goal and making saves.
Is he the lad that's class at cricket? Is he the one that's...
Yeah.
He's like, but really good, is he? He's like captain of...
Him and his brother, aren't they? So Ed and Rob Foster.
Yeah.
Nice little shout
yeah,
for
definitely,
him there.
Rob's Ed's brother. That's what he's known as, because his brother was better than him.
So no one knows him as Rob. He's Ed's brother.
He is Ed's brother. Or cricket.
Yeah, I remember the cricket thing.
So you were Shrewsbury lad, Joe. You went to school in Shrewsbury. What was your primary school?
Oxon Primary School.
So you went to Oxon Primary School, then you went to Mealbrace Secondary.
Yeah.
What were you like at school? Good kid?
I think I was okay.
Bright?
As bright as I needed to be. I was kind
Why are you nudging me, Dave?
I think I was as bright as I needed to be for me to have the freedom especially from my mum and dad, to play football and to play cricket and to play anything that I wanted to. I always kind of had to stick to the program of taking it as seriously as I could, and not falling behind. I'm not a troublemaker. That's just not me. I'm not that guy, so I never really need to worry about that. Obviously, being good at sport kind of gives you a status at school where you're not necessarily going to be the wrong end of people trying to pick on you and stuff like that. So I don't know. Pretty sheltered life, mate. Just happy, enjoying doing things, understanding that I had to kind of do certain things that I didn't want to do to get what I wanted to do. So I just did it.
Yeah, quite a nice upbringing.
Yeah, I'm mate, very, very pleased with that upbringing. It was a good place to be. Older
Lovely
sister,
place to be brought up.
Beautiful place to be brought up. Beautiful place. Somewhere that I love visiting. My family still live there now. My family love my connection to Shrewsbury. I love being there.
Because we talk about that ourselves, don't we? Like, especially me and Sam are obviously, I suppose, foreigners to Shropshire. But I moved away periodically from Shrewsbury and was just desperate to get back. And I think there's so many ex-footballers or people that move to Shropshire and then don't want to move away.
It's a beautiful place to bring up a family, though,
For your
isn't it? I
kids,
understand.
unreal.
So my daughter's 16 and I'd like her to go off and experience university. But to bring up a family, it's perfect. Beautiful.
Yeah, I'm the same. So from there then, obviously, was it straight into Shrewsbury from school? Or were you trialling for other clubs, or was it just straight in there?
No, I was. I think I joined. Again, I'll have to ask Fozzie. I think I joined Shrewsbury when I was about 9.
Should we do a podcast?
We'll do a podcast with Fozzie here.
Get Fozzie on. So I think I was there till I was about 9 or 10, and part of the Centre of Excellence. And then I remember I was quite I cried easily when I was young. I cried easily, but I got over it, and it's the truth. So there's no
upset or frustration?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think I'd be I think upset. I think I'd get upset. And I remember being a part of a game, and it was I don't know, maybe under 10s, under 11. We were playing someone for Shrewsbury, and it felt really serious, and it felt a bit uncomfortable for me. So I remember playing the game. I did okay, and my dad, he could tell that I was upset. He was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "I don't like this, Dad. I don't like being part of this." He was like, "Yeah, cool." He went, "You've just got to go and tell the coach." I was like, "What?" He was like, "If you don't want to do it, which is fine, I'll support you. Go and tell the coach." So I walked up and said, "Look, this isn't for me." And then obviously I didn't explain myself while I was a baby. So then my dad stepped in, but just because I started the initial conversation, and I moved away, and I just went back to playing Sunday League. But I was always part of Shropshire schools, Dave. So always part of Shropshire schools, which is something that kind of always kept me in the shop window. So I played with Shropshire. We had a decent age group. We actually got to a national final, and I was constantly getting trials off the back of it. I think I trialled at Wolves. I trialled at Crewe.
Oh, these are missed out, haven't they, these teams?
Yeah.
Shrewsbury Captain.
Flipping.
So you were the same
they
age,
should turn
Dave?
off now.
You and Joe were the same age.
Joe's a year
I was school
younger,
year
but we had
below.
pretty much, I spoke about before, exactly the same story, whereas we were both still playing for the county, and it was that which kind of got us back in.
That's Shropshire
a little
schools
bit
and
later.
colleges, isn't it?
That's right,
Yeah.
Alan Jones.
And that. Yeah.
But there was always Timo, Dave Timmins, who's a huge part of my life, especially a huge part of me being young, was always someone who believed in me and pushed me, far.
And he was
further.
hard on you, Joe, wasn't he? 'Cause I just remember running past him here and Timo going.
He was nice. He was nice to Joe.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Not in training.
I used to shout across me, "Leave them alone, Timo! Leave them alone." Say,
No, that's
"Being
true.
on."
I
We used to
remember that.
wince. We used to look over at you, and you'd be covered in mud, and we'd be having a light session, and we used to wince at what Timo used to do.
He was at it, but to be honest, he stood by his word. He said, if you ever want to come back to Shrewsbury Town, the door's open for you. So I played Sunday League. I was playing outfield Sunday League. Went on a few trials, even to the extent of I'd play for, Wolves in the morning, and they'd move kickoff in my Sunday League team so I could get back and play outfield. That was always my intent. I just wanted to play with lads. I didn't really like being part of the Wolves and the Crews of this world. Eventually they said thanks, but no thanks, which was fine. And then it was the standard Sunday League game. One time it was howling with rain. Both teams lined the pitch up, and we had to walk across it, check in for dog poo, needles, all the usual kind of the Sunday League.
Yeah.
And it was an awful game. And then afterwards, my old man was like, "Look, I've got you back. I'll take you anywhere you need to go." But he said, I don't really want to watch this anymore, but I'll sit in the car. I went, "Dad, I think it's that time." And he was like, "Well, do you want me to give him a call?" I went, "Yeah, give him a call." 14, went straight in, trained in with Timo. At the time, we trained at Mealbrace AstroTurf, and from 11 till 16, all the goalies were together, and you used so the lights were all facing in, obviously, on the AstroTurf.
Yeah.
We used the afterglow on the outside.
I remember this so vividly.
So I'm cycling to training on my mum's bike in a battered goalie kit, training with some 11-year-olds, some 16-year-olds, and just training them. And then next minute,
You can't even see the ball.
couldn't even see the ball, but it just didn't matter. The moment I came in, I played a couple of under-14 games with the Seabird. He was our coach, Kevin Seabury, and then
Sieves.
Kevin
Seabury, yeah.
Seabury was coach. Yeah, he was coach. And then I don't know, things just started progressing, but I just wasn't really aware of it. I was playing reserve games. I was on the bench when I was 15 with you guys, and it just kind of snowballed at Shrewsbury. I was just playing for about 6 different Shrewsbury Town teams, and yeah, it was nuts. I didn't really do much training. I was just playing all the time, playing. And Shrewsbury didn't. They knew that I enjoyed playing my cricket. They let me play my cricket. They let me still play my school games. They didn't stop me from doing that. So I was just playing, mate, just having a great time, playing football, playing cricket, just doing whatever.
And just on Timo as well, he messaged me the other day because he was talking about something we'd said on the podcast, and he was like correcting because he ended up flipping taking me home for like 4 o'clock in the morning. But it was funny with him, wasn't it? Because you could speak to different people with Timo, and you definitely get a different reflection of him. So I would speak about Timo, and I used to go for coffee with him at the market hall, and he was really pleasant. I could tell he was like really professional and driven and all that. And then you'd speak to like a Jamie Haynes who was in the youth team. He's scared to death of him, and I'd go, "Timo, scared of Timo?" And he'd be like, "Mate, flipping." I remember wearing my beanie hat one day, and he ripped it off my head and went, "Who do you think you are?" And I was like going, "Dave Timmins, are you winding me up?" But it's like he had a switch. He did it strategically, though. I think he knew that the younger lads had to learn in the right way, but he was also very professional and brilliant with the older lads. Did it
help you, Joe, that obviously he was the academy, so 11 to 16, you said, but he was also the first team coach, so you kind of had that journey all the way through?
Mate, it was unbelievable, the fact that he was associated with the first team, because Dave Timmins believed in me far before, he put me in situations that I wasn't uncomfortable in, because I kind of had this kind of attitude of like, all right, wicked, let's go for it. But I was certainly put in positions where I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I was good enough, but that didn't bother me, if you know what I mean.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I was like, sound, I'll just go for it. So from the age of, as soon as I said I was going to come back in, Easter holidays, I'd be training with you boys. He'd get me out warming up on the pitch before games, even when I wasn't in the squad when I was 14, 15, 16. and he just saw something in me that without that, my progression probably wouldn't have been as rapid. Well, it wouldn't have been as rapid. And who knows, once you reach 22 and you're that guy that people want to buy, then maybe they're not as keen to buy you. But because I'd reached the point that I reached when I was 19, it wasn't that big a decision for a big club to take me, because what's the worst that happens? You don't have to pay that much. And if it doesn't work, there's potential resale in him, or it doesn't necessarily ruin my career, because there's a long way to go back down once you're in the Premier League. So it was kind of a no-brainer. But the fact that he pushed me so hard so early, put me on the bench when I was the club was when I was 15. Like, the manager at the time, Karen Ratcliffe, he wouldn't have known anything about me, I doubt.
Timo's four stats.
Well, I think because the squads literally had 2 goalkeepers, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think it was Cartwright and Bavo at the time, and one of them wasn't available. They couldn't dip into the loan system, and Timo was like, well, just put Joe on the bench.
He's good enough.
Yeah, he's good enough. And people didn't get that deep about football. They didn't really think about it too much. There wasn't too much thought about the reserve goalkeeper, if you like, but it was huge for me. And it's kind of a story that alerts people. Like, all of a sudden I become better. I become more interesting because I'm doing that, even though I'm not technically getting any better as a player. But it just speeds up the movement for people to be potentially put. So
was that year 10 or year 11?
Year 11.
But that's got to instill belief in you, though, Joe. Like, you're on there at 15. Like you say, all of those things, you're absolutely right in what you say. But for you personally, then that must have made you think, flipping it, I'm on the bench for the first team.
It didn't make me think anything. I remember training, and someone gave me a brown envelope with, I think I was got £25 to be on the bench. I still had no idea that you got paid to play football. Well, I knew
you can't say brown envelope.
Yeah, no. Remember I got you, with the wage slip and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was in cash.
Expenses, Joe. They were called expenses.
I didn't have a bank account. It was just what it was for someone being on the bench, and it was. I just didn't see football like that, and I just did not see football like that. I was literally just playing because I loved it.
You remember the game, Joe? Then you in year 11.
Exeter away, mate.
That's why you went.
So Exeter away. It was debatable whether someone lobbed.
Cartwright didn't want to go.
No.
He had the choice. He couldn't be bothered.
Exeter away, and then I was on the bench. That year 11 year, I was on the bench probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 times. And
that's mental.
Youth team games we used to play at Lilleshall, didn't we?
So at this time you were playing for the youth team as well with.
So I was playing youth team in the morning.
My year.
In the morning. Getting back home, getting a shower, and then Nigel Vaughan or someone would get me to the stadium, and then I'd get changed again and be on the bench for the first team, and then play resis, and then just.
Is that Luke Ryan? Is that
mate.
So after not the Jemson still there then?
He was I think I trained with him and Ian Wone, who was the.
So this would be in the relegation season. Do you remember they got relegated?
Yeah, I think it was definitely in the league. And then the year after, when I was involved, when I was 16.
That was when we got relegated, wasn't it?
Jimmy Quinn and that, yeah.
What a season.
But going back to Dave Timmins, like to have someone like Dave Timmins at a football club, it's special, isn't it? Like, think of what you got sold for. Is it 1.5 you got sold for in the end or something?
That's what it rose to, yeah.
So imagine like Timo should be getting a fair cut of that. Really, for Ian, all your development all the way through and what it did, it's incredible.
Message us, Timo. Message us how much you got for that.
Well, I think I speak to Timo as well, and I think like his skill was knowing what buttons to push with certain people. So like you say there, he would go to the youth team lads and he could be ruthless with them. But he would also be able to go to first team lads and be ruthless if he felt like they could handle it, like Joe, and would push him to his limit, which is obviously at that time what you needed. But then I think there was other lads in the first team that he would be absolutely more low key with because he wouldn't think they could handle it. And I felt as though, aside from his ability to be a goalkeeping coach and his knowledge and his professionalism, I always felt that was his skill. I could see him go to different levels with different people. Looking back.
Yeah. Before we get completely into Shrewsbury and professional football, I've told this story to these boys before. I remember our first encounter. So Mary Webb, my school versus Millbrae School. We played at Scat Pitches, semi-finals of the
Quality.
Whatever district cup or whatever.
Are you centre mid, Dave?
I think I might have even played up front then.
Joe's left wing, surely.
I was a year above, so I went in goal.
So he's playing a year above, and it was. I always knew from that. I didn't know Joe before this, so I think I'm year 10, you're year 9 or something like that. And I said the story, like I hit a shot from edge of the box, and when you're that age, they go in. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got a bit more power and they go high in the net, and you just plucked it out the air. And then you start an attack. I thought, wow. But it was 0-0 and it went to penalties, didn't it? And it was, I always remember one poor lad from Merriweb, the only one he was the last penalty taker, and he missed 11-10 on penalties.
Oh, and he missed.
But I scored my penalty pass, Joe.
We'll mention that. He scored a few past Joe, then we'll mention that later on.
Yeah, we'll come on to that.
Yeah, but you remember that, Joe, yeah?
No, I do remember it. I don't even need a fuzzy jog here. I remember that game, and I remember because that was where all the semi-finals took place, and it was a bit. And playing the year up's always nice because you feel like you feel accepted by the older guys. So
yeah,
I do remember it. I think we won the final as well. At the Meadow.
Don't remind me.
At the Meadow. So, like, obviously, we spoke a little bit initially. Like, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much. But obviously, Dave's talking about how like you were good at football and you were playing a year up there, playing in school. But you also, and you touched on it. Obviously, your best mates, like really good at cricket and played a real high standard. So, cricket was a big thing for you as well.
I loved cricket. It was cricket in the summer, football in the winter. Played for Shropshire. Played for my county, played for my club, Shrewsbury, which obviously wasn't professional, that's just the local club. But again, in that, I was getting, I remember playing the first team when I was 14. I was involved with Worcestershire, which was the professional club. I was involved in their academy. And I played a second team game for them when I was 14, 15. And it was just mad, mate. I don't know how. I've just got lucky. I've been thrown in some ridiculous situations that I've been far above and beyond where I was technically or physically. I just seem to find myself in these situations, and the more I look back, like I just didn't think anything of it. I just thought, why not? I'll have a go. If I get smashed, I was a bowler. If I get smashed for 6, so what? Like I'm literally just having a good time.
And aside from you saying there that you've got this sort of like quite free thinking way of doing it, a lot of people would say to me, having played with you, they go, oh yeah, like with Joe, was it his natural ability was what is it would learn? And obviously, when you're put in that situation, when you're talking about that young age and you're like, you're very humble by saying, oh yeah, I was just thrown into this situation, I got lucky and all of that. But people have obviously seen something in you. Is it fair to say, like biomechanically and DNA wise, like you're born to be an athlete really? And like you say, your dad's seeing you at 2 years old, fizz this ball at him, and you've overcooked it or whatnot. Is it fair to say that, aside from all of the things that Timo's got to put you through and everything that you've got to work hard at, you've got this natural base of ability and biomechanics and DNA.
And you've got your family's got a sporting background. Your dad was very sporty, wasn't he?
Yeah, look, I was definitely, blessed with some talents, undoubtedly. You can't really get involved in professional football or play sport to a higher level. But I think I've always had a kind of mindset of getting the best of what I've got. And lucky enough, the best of what I got is good, is really strong. But I've always been able to work to that, and I've kind of never really accepted, not ever been hard. I've not been hard on myself for not doing it. It was just a given. I was always going to give my all, like always in what I did, and I loved doing that. Like loved giving my all in cricket, flying, diving for every single ball, trying to catch every catch, trying to smash every ball for 6, trying to save every ball, trying to score every header. Like that's just pure enjoyment of sport runs through me, and that's what I love doing.
I think we've spoken a lot on this podcast, haven't we, about that natural ability gets you in the room, isn't it? But then everything else comes from that, doesn't it? You've got a head start, but it's effort, attitude, and the fact that you loved it.
Yeah.
You're lucky that you absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And that's my memory of Joe. I mean, we'll talk about memories in just 2 seconds, but I remember Joe as a young lad, obviously, and I just remember you, massive character already, just love football, and I remember you smashing the balls, and I just thought, what a carefree attitude this lad's got. What do you think, Joe? What are your memories of us?
Oh, mate, you lot were awesome. So where I was from, where we're from, Dave as well, it's quite Shrewsbury, especially me, nice kind of calm upbringing. I didn't go into the city much. I didn't travel much. What we lived in was what we lived in. And everything else was kind of stuff you saw on TV. Yeah. So even the likes of your strong accent, I just used to buzz off it. Like I just loved it. And obviously you were very loud, but you were
don't know what you're talking about, mate.
Yeah. But especially Tolly,
we had a lively group, didn't we?
But you caused trouble, but none of you were bullies. None of you were looking to derail anyone or make anyone feel bad. It was a dog eat dog, and everyone loved doing it. From what I saw, I remember like Carl Murray, I remember Toll, Lowy, yourself, Mossy, even the older boys. They were just big characters, all just smashing each other. But to me, it looked like you guys had a real good unity.
Yeah,
like you
which we did.
You looked like you were having a good time. You looked like you were working for each other, training hard. That was my first people looked up, people that I've worked with all the way through my career have always been aware of academies, of pathways. Like you guys were the level that we wanted to be a part of, and the day to day that I wanted to be a part of, and it just looked like you were having a good time.
You overtook us pretty quickly though.
It's good fun though. So you actually make your debut. So you've had 1 year being on the bench.
Yeah.
And then the following season you move into full-time football as a scholar.
Yeah.
And then you make your debut. Is it that season in the conference?
Yeah. We got led to, where did we finish? Third
in the conference season, didn't we?
So Scotty Howe,
a long way back though, weren't
75 points.
75 points behind the top two. I had a good laugh though, didn't we?
Scotty Howie was top. He'd had a great season, and I think Shrewsbury were guaranteed third, and there was 2 games to go. And I just on my 17th birthday, Jimmy Quinn said, you're going to get there's 2 games to go, and you're going to play them. We're going to give Scott a rest, and I think it would be nice. We appreciate that you're an up and coming talent. You've been here. I've never missed training. I never missed days. Not that I'm not saying that to be a hero. I wasn't aware that was a big thing, but I was always there. Resi game, no problem. He said we're going to reward you and give you a couple of games. So I played Gravesend at home.
Classic that was.
Gravesend at home.
Now called Ebbsfleet, they are.
I think there was 3,112 people there, and I knew
round and about.
I knew a good number of them. It was people from school. It was people from everywhere. Couldn't believe it, mate. Buzzing, absolutely buzzing.
I remember, Joe, the day before, I remember you and make your debut. I remember you being a bit nervous. I remember saying to you, mate, I was like, youngin, this game is going to be nothing in your career. Because we knew you were going to be a superstar. And we were like, this game is going to be nothing in your career, which is right and it's wrong because obviously you went on to play in massive games. But we've spoken it before. You remember that debut, don't you?
It was my everything, mate. Yeah. That was my pinnacle at that age. It was my pinnacle. And it was... especially like Dave can understand, and you doing it at being a Newcastle boy at Sunderland. It was like my hometown. It was like Shrewsbury has very much a family feel. Like I say, school teachers. I've been to a few games. It was just a really good feeling. It was really nice, and it was my Mount Everest at the time. So to be playing, so it was special. I think Mossy got sent off after about 10 minutes, but
shock.
We're still nicked to 1-1, so I'm buzzing with that. And then I played Morecambe away. We drew 3-3, and that was just last game of the season. Obviously gearing into the playoffs, and then the more serious stuff went on.
See, I never knew that because obviously I was, from my perspective, your debut, which must now, thinking back, it was the league debut against Oxford.
Yeah.
So I just signed for the club and was told by Gary Peters, look, you probably won't make too much of an impact this year, and we're thinking about next year. And then obviously it was like dire straits at the time, wasn't it? And then literally Scott Howie got put, his big news at the time, because obviously Scott was a big part of the team and the squad, and you got
a big decision from the manager, that was to put you in, because he was such a young boy.
It was massive locally, and you got put in, didn't you, against Oxford at home?
Yeah, I remember it. And I remember Scott obviously was, as well as being a top guy, he understood who and what I was, and he was really good with me. So that was kind of a big moment for me to see someone have their place taken from them and given to me. But that kind of I'm starting to realise this is pretty serious now, because we were down the bottom as well. We were struggling.
Yeah.
Is this the league? Is this the league?
This is the league. This is the year after.
Gav had mentioned that he was brought in and you kept us up, didn't you, Gav?
Save the club.
Yeah, save the club.
Yeah. No, don't try and sugarcoat it, Dave. Basically, I came in, saved the
day. Roland, if you're listening.
Yeah, forget about Joe, forget about everyone. I came in, marshalled everyone. No, so my debut was the game after that, Cheltenham away, midweek, 1-1. Yeah. Mike Sheeran scored. And I remember, because we conceded late, and I remember, I think it was Gary Peters who spoke to you after and was like, we'll see what you're all about now you've conceded a goal. And I remember everyone being a little bit like, why would you even say that? But obviously you being you was a bit like, yeah, we will see what I'm about. Like, yeah, we will see.
So that was your season, Joe, when you broke in that league? Because in the conference you didn't really play.
No, just played. Just literally played those two. The
last two. Yeah. And so you were sub all the time. So you remember us winning it, but it wasn't a big deal.
Oh, mate,
was it a massive deal?
It was wicked. Yeah, that was. So I'm 17, and it was really tough for me to get a night out in Shrewsbury because people knew who I was.
Yeah,
like it was really tough.
We tried our best though, didn't we? For you?
The boys did everything.
Sneaking them in everywhere.
Not for the want to try in that one, was it?
I was getting. Well, yeah, it was tough, and I just remember the semi-final. I remember more being sat in the. Is it the Dun Cow?
Yeah, sounds local. Sounds local.
Back in the day. Would have been.
Or one close.
I used to take everybody back in there.
One close to the ground, and we were sat with the supporters, and everyone was just. It was just awesome, mate. Everyone was having.
Sam was on commission in there, Joe.
Yeah, that was it. We all went back to the Dun Cow, and all you young lads come. I remember Holly told me about this because we had a little house in King Street, me and Holly, and it was just round the corner from the Dun Cow, and apparently you come back. That was Holly. I can't remember this, but Holly said he was swinging on our gate and broke the gate.
No doubt, mate. I was absolutely bingo. I was just having the time. I just couldn't believe it. It was like I say, like Shrewsbury is its own place. It's its own place, and we were going to some place. It didn't matter that it was to get into the league. Like it was
massive.
It was everything, and the town was right with it. It was class. I loved it, and then obviously the special day going up on penalties and. It was good, mate. It was really good, really enjoyable time.
What I say is, though, they keep going on about this conference season, Joe. and what I say is cut it out at source. They haven't got relegated, and then I come along, we didn't get relegated. But, they do not stop going on about this conference season. Just stop it at source, lads.
It was fun.
But it was also surreal to... Obviously, me and you are similar ages, and it just felt like a bit of a dream. We've both come through watching Shrewsbury, and all of a sudden, me and you were in a part of this season. We were both on the bench for the final. And like you said, I said to these boys on the last podcast, they said, what was my thought of these guys? I said, I was just starstruck. So I'd kind of be listening to their conversations and then be telling my mates about it back home and said, you never guess what Sam Mason said today. You'll never guess what Luke Rogers said today. Which seems bizarre saying that, but we were like in this little bubble, me and you were, and a few others, where what are we doing here? But let's just enjoy it. But who knows how long it's going to last?
But the boys, I always felt that we were looked after. I always felt that people kind of protected us because we were quite innocent guys, and we weren't miles off it. We understood how the world worked, but we were also quite, polite, normal kids, and easily jumped on in that environment. Easily jumped on. I always felt like we got a little bit of leeway, and people respected what we could do before we knew what we could do. That was the opinion I got from you guys, and that was very helpful because when you don't realise what you're doing or what you're trying to do, it's good when you haven't got huge characters, people that you look up to, that stomping all over you.
Absolutely. So obviously from there, that Sam spoke a little bit on previous podcasts about how that group who were really, there's a real clique group, wasn't there? And there, they had that fun element, but
we all got released.
Yeah. Basically, that group got bogged off. Yeah. And then, but then obviously Gary Peters come in. Yeah. What was life like under him?
Gary Peters was someone who really believed in me. Again, I wasn't too aware of what was going on, what he thought, what his plan was for me. It was just kind of, turn up, try my best, and see what happens. But he believed in me. He really backed me. He even to the extent of helped me with driving lessons. All the kind of things that people don't see in football and don't really associate. But we're young guys growing up. And usually when you're around the 17, 18 age, you're still with your age groups. But like me and I was with men from 15. So I was developing as a person as well as a footballer in and around these people. And I think he saw that and he recognised that and he helped me with that. And he saw, he had the idea that potentially I was going to kick on and be a part of something a bit that maybe he realised that I didn't understand. And I think he saw that naivety, but he also saw the confidence, so he was quite relaxed. And he wasn't the guy to take chances, Gary Peters. He wasn't. And for some reason, he believed that I was going to play, and I was going to be the answer for him sooner rather than later. And he did, and he put me in, and he didn't make a big deal out of it. He was like he made me feel, like I say, he tapped into the fact that I didn't really think about things too much, and he just put me in and said, go and do your thing. You deserve to play. It's a big decision, but to everyone else, it's not a big decision to me. I've been looking forward to doing this, and I'm going to go and do it. Go and do your thing. and then make the spot your own. And then I played the last 10. It went well. He made me his number one, and then the season after, things got a little bit rocky. But
here we go. Come on then.
It was awesome, mate. It was just so much fun. Like, I was part of Shrewsbury Town. So what we've got there, I don't know if it's still the same. We've got Shropshire Star, we've got the Chronicle, which covers Shrewsbury Town, which covers nothing else it didn't cover back then, did it? No one really cared what was going on. If something big happened in the Premier League, it was like, well, we'll leave the Mirror or the Sun to deal with that. We're going to cover Shrewsbury Town. And I'm playing, Dave's playing constantly, and names are getting dropped and linked with people, which I never thought anything of. I didn't have an agent. I didn't see the bigger picture. Anyway, so having a good season, and then links start happening. Gary says that I had to sign a deal. I have to have an agent. Put me in contact with someone who, a guy called Pete Mack, who I'm still, he's part of my family now. Big part of my family now, big part of my life. And then stuff started to happen. People started to come and watch. If a scout came, it would be you'd get it through the papers. But I always kind of had the attitude that people can say and do what they want until something happens. I'd speak to my dad and speak to Pete, and then it got to the point they went, well, if you do want to move, you're going to have to say something. What am I now? 18, coming up 19. I was
Let's put a little bit of sort of perspective on this. So you're playing at the moment. You're playing really well.
Yeah.
And people are coming to watch you, and they're getting pictured in the crowd. So I remember Stuart Pearce come to watch you. He was Man City manager at the time.
Tim Flowers,
the goalkeeping coach. People that were coming to watch you a lot, weren't they?
Yeah.
So it wasn't just paper talk. No, it was happening.
And do I remember rightly, Joe, as well, that Gary Peters was almost trying to push that, because did Chris Woods come in with Everton?
Yeah.
And did a session with you, didn't he? And I remember that.
Chris Woods coming with John Ruddy, who was a player.
That's right. Yeah.
Who was at Cambridge, similar age to myself. In fact, tiny bit older, months in it. And both him and I were playing young league football, and Everton were going to invest in a goalkeeper.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I think they went with John earlier. I think in the January transfer window they went with John, and then kind of bought Chris Woods, and who does that?
I know, yeah. It was mad when he turned up at training.
But I didn't think I was like, yes, I'll train with him, no problems. Yeah. I'll train with him. Absolutely beasted me into the floor.
I remember that.
He was hitting balls so hard at you, mate, wasn't he? His service was ridiculous.
It's a big thing for Gary Peters to do that, though, because obviously we'll talk about Gary Peters and what happened with you, Joe, afterwards. But I mean, that's crazy that he's done that. I mean, that wouldn't happen anymore, would it?
And it started before that as well, because I don't know about you, Joe, but like when you made that debut for Oxford, I'd just come in then, and when I came to Shrewsbury, I was a little bit underwhelmed. And then the next season, I'd realised that everything had just got a lot more professional, just gone to the next level, and I was a bit like, I was expecting what happened last season. And then, like you say, for you then, you're getting driven forward. Chris Woods is coming through the door, and I was thinking, flipping heck.
Good for the whole team,
absolutely,
isn't it? The whole team raising.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I signed a deal with Umbro as well. Like, I couldn't believe
at Shrewsbury.
Yeah, they put a contract in front of me.
Big deal that is, isn't it? Because Shrewsbury, that doesn't happen.
Well, no one else had it. Joe was 18 and flipping.
Couldn't believe it, mate. There were stipulations.
Got any spare boots? Or?
I was wearing Umbro.
Any specialities?
I was wearing them with 4 pairs of socks off Joe.
That's the problem. Joe's a size 14. The lads are like, for goodness sake, am I going to get into these?
I had all sorts of Umbro gear on, mate.
I was like, Joe, you got any specialities in the back there? Or?
But I think that was to do with Mick Wadsworth.
Yeah.
I think that's to do with Mick. He constantly talked about.
He was Gary Peters' assistant, wasn't he?
Yeah, Mick was in there, and he was obviously previous links with Newcastle, and I think he was well respected in the game.
Did he do the England thing, Joe? With he did the Umbro adverts, didn't he, with Shearer and Owen? Yeah, and then I think that's how I remember it.
Yeah, he was definitely strongly linked.
Definitely got a bit of commission off Joe as well, didn't he?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, if it's Mick Wadsworth, so yeah, 1,000,000% he
back
did.
on the brown envelopes.
Yeah.
But I signed a contract with them with stipulations in for playing for England, with playing in the Premier League, which I was like, whatever. And like,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and a yearly salary with them, and I was just like, what? Again, just like, yes, I signed it, cool, got on with it. So, and I didn't really, stuff like this was stuff that ended up being thrown at me in the end so anyway, I had to go to Gary and say, look, I'm aware that there's so I thought nothing of it. We were close. He was someone who was really good to me, was pushing me, and it just felt like a natural progression. It felt like he'd done this so that he could sell me and I could move on and we could shake hands. So my agent at the time was like, if you want that to happen, if you want these wheels to start, you're going to have to go and say that's something that you want to do. So I was like, well, of course, no problem. Walked in. All right, Gary.
Gary. All right, Gal.
Do you mind if I speak to you after training? Yeah, no problem, Joe. Walked in. I was like, obviously I'm pretty sure you're aware there's quite a lot going on above us. I really appreciate playing in the team and it's something that I'm really, really focused on. But I think it's important that we talk and I let you know that stuff, if stuff is to happen, it's something that I'm really, really interested in exploring. I'm really interested in finding out what the best solution is between myself, the club, and whoever we're going to speak to. Just thought that was how things were done. Bosh, complete change in the guy.
Didn't help when you gave him a piece of paper which had a transfer request on it.
Yeah. Well, that was what I was told. That was what I was told I had to do, and I just thought, pretty calm, sheltered life. That was how. And he just lost his head with me. He just went mental. You cheeky. Who the fuck do you think you are? Walking in here with your Umbro, that's why I referenced it, because all of a sudden these things that I'd been, he probably helped in me were getting thrown at me, and I was like, whoa, and then all of a sudden his attitude's gone from telling me how really good I am to you've been miles off it in recent weeks. You've been miles off it. You're replaceable like that. I've seen a million of you. I've seen a million young players like you, and stuff like this. It affects them. It changes them, and they don't progress. He was like, you've told me what you're going to do now. Good for you, but like just know I'm coming for you. So I was like, okay,
that hasn't gone as I expected.
So I went out, obviously relayed this because I was like, as far as I was concerned, he was going to completely throw me out of the team. Like, it was over. Just
to say as well, because I remember that, and I remember we all knew about it, didn't we? Yeah. Like, we all knew what had happened.
It's because I was like this, Joe's going in now.
In the porter cabin.
Mate, in the porter cabin, I remember him coming out, and everyone was like, not sure that went well.
Was it the steam come out of his ears?
But it was a big thing, wasn't it? It was like, you could tell, and everyone was going, and everyone was like, has Joe done the right thing there? And we were, don't know. And
is this the right time to ask the gaffer for Wednesday off?
So then he proceeded from then on in to, he kept just bringing, he was bringing trialists in on a weekly basis, goalkeepers. And then, I kept up. I stood by what I said. I was like, look, I'm not here to cause a problem. I want to play. I was only telling you that I was interested in exploring what was going on. And he was like, look how replaceable you are. I'll bring it. And I was like, when the third one came in, I was like, well, go on then, play him. Obviously, you're not going to play him. So you've absolutely overplayed your hand.
Big time on him. Go on then, put him in because he's terrible.
He's come from the Swedish third division. You ain't playing him.
You've overplayed your hand here, Mr. Peters. I didn't want to carry him off there. But so then we got to the end of the season, and I was like, I'd started to have conversations with Manchester City, with Stuart Pearce and Tim Flowers, that they were really interested and they were going to try and do something. I was like, all the best with that one, pal. So, and then I heard Dave talk about it in one of the podcasts. I was just like, that's me. It's however it's going to. I don't know how it's going to play out, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be simple. And then we're wandering into the quarry to have a kickabout in the summer.
In our basketball kits.
Cool
lads, cool. I like LA Lakers on.
Cool lads, love
Miami Heat. walking through the middle of Shrewsbury.
Yeah, literally.
Big deal, still a big deal.
Yeah.
And then I got a call, and it was Gary, and it was completely different. How I don't know, we weren't really on speaking terms, or we certainly weren't being friendly with each other like we were. And then he had a conversation that made it sound like he'd just got me a deal to Manchester City, and I should thank him. And he was like, "We're going to let you speak to Manchester City. We think it's right time now." And I was thinking, what the fuck?
They'd accepted a bid.
We'd accepted a bid, and as Dave referenced, I didn't know what to do. I was so happy, but at the same time, I had no idea what was happening. So I just teared up, and I was just like, Dave was like, "What's happened?" Because he was kind of aware of what the conversation was. Because I've gone, Gary Peters is calling me. He was like, take it then. So, and then obviously I'm kind of in tears on the floor, and I just couldn't believe it, mate. I was just buzzing, absolutely buzzing. Then I had the conversation. There was no negotiation whatsoever on my behalf. Like, I was just ready to go. Spoke to my agent, and and we made it happen. And then, you know, I got up the road and that was that.
And it's fascinating, isn't it, with GP that? Because when you look at what we were saying there about how he believed in you, how he nurtured you, how he got Chris Woods in, Everton, it was almost like he was pushing you towards that. And then the moment you tried to not force the hand, but you were like, I want to let you know what's going on, he almost rebelled against that. So I'd love to know, because he's definitely got psychopathic tendencies, GP. Like,
Can we cut that bit out?
I had that firsthand, but like he was also genius, and I wonder whether that was he'd lost control and he didn't like that.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a part of it. But I also wonder whether he just thought, right, I'm probably going to have this lad now for another 3 weeks. What am I going to do to keep him on his toes by bringing lads in, knowing what you're like, which is, you know, if it's like.
Well, this was a push for me to go in the January,
Right.
Because they told me that the deal could be done, and there'll be no questions asked. No, you know, I'd be on the same wage as I was at Shrewsbury with them paying. I'd be loaned straight back.
Right.
It would be, we've signed him because we've secured him, and then bang, you're going straight back to Shrewsbury Town. You know, that was just what we presumed. So that was when I went in. So there was still, you know, there's still January, February, March, April to play.
But having been through all that with GP, it wouldn't surprise me whether it was a control thing that he lost his head.
100% a control thing.
You reckon?
It was. Everything was part of the plan, and then the moment that it felt like that plan meant that he was no longer in control of what was going on,
Your best mate again.
something whooped in his head. Something whooped in his head, and he was like, "No, this ain't your decision, mate. Everything is my decision." Yeah. But that's managers and coaches, and I'd imagine deep down he did care for me, and he probably would have thought it was too early. I think that maybe was in his mindset, that it was too early for me and it was a mistake. But obviously he wasn't able to articulate that, and he just banged it with aggression and fire and fury.
That's not like him.
But the whole bigger picture, he has done an unbelievable. Like, obviously, you had so much talent, Joe. We've said about how good you were, like ridiculously good at that age. You might not have seen it, but we all knew it. But he has still done an unbelievable job by putting you in the team regularly. And he's got what $1.5 million they got for you, and they weren't paying you much money then to be a Shrewsbury player. So what they've done off the back of you, and moving forward, how good that is going to be in the future for Shrewsbury Town. Do you know what I mean? You'll be playing for England like 3 or 4 years later. That looks so good on Shrewsbury Town. Yeah. I know you've driven that with your ability, but he did a good job as well, getting that money in.
And this is what I'm saying. I wouldn't write out like the fact that he would have had that from you, and then. You're absolutely right. It's more than likely a control thing. But when I say that about him, I also believe like there was an element of genius in him. It wouldn't surprise me if he sat here now and went, well, I knew you were going then. So what I did, I had to play this game to try and get the best out of you for as long as I had you. It wouldn't surprise me with him, but I mean, you'll know better.
And he
than me,
obviously believed in you so much. I know one of the clauses, like quite a big chunk of that 1.5 million was on an England cap, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you were like, no disrespect, you were miles away from an England cap at Shrewsbury Town, weren't you?
600
from Shrewsbury.
It was 600 up front, and then the rest was, mate, it was a long way in the distance to achieve it. But you know, just to be like,
I think they got it though.
Every single penny, unbelievable.
I loved him. I've got no bad words. Like, I don't feel anything other than he was awesome for me. Like, and it was what it was, mate. I've seen since that moment. I've seen that every year in some way. That is just football. That is just high end business. I did not hold one, even during it. I never ever felt anything bad towards him. That was how it was. I was lucky I had calm people around me just saying, well, it's whatever, it's a conversation. You're gonna play Saturday and you've got to focus on that. So it was like, well, I'll switch off to that now. I'll play my game, and then in a couple of weeks' time or a couple of months' time when we need to have a conversation about something else, I'll go and have a conversation about that. I really, really enjoyed working with him, and I'm really grateful to the opportunities they gave me, because he believed, like Dave Timmins has, or people who've come after him have believed in me when maybe I didn't. Like I said, I didn't not believe in myself, but I certainly didn't see myself doing the things that I was doing at that time.
Still a psycho, no?
Incredible.
He's class. I obviously had a rocky time with him, didn't I? But it's brilliant that you say that, because I still think. Brilliant. I look back and have so much to thank for him.
I'd buzz to see him, mate, just slightly over to one side. Aggressive and putting us on our toes.
Yeah.
I was trying to get Joe to say that because I was losing a lodger.
Fuming, Dave.
Dave was like, going to commute?
Yeah.
What do you think? You'll be all right. You'll be all right from there, won't you?
Dave's giving you the train times.
You were renting off Dave?
I was renting. So, again, another thing that I think Dave moved into his house. When was it? Was it early in the year?
I can't remember. Yeah,
I'd say it was early in the year.
You had almost a full season there, didn't you?
No, I'd say it was just after January, and then I kind of thought, you know what, there's potential. There's potential of me going to have to live on my own. So I thought I'll go and practice. So I went and lived at Dave's around the corner.
He didn't want to. He just practice. I'm off to Man City.
It was awesome. Me and you living in Shrewsbury, doing how we wanted to do things. Local boys playing for the team, walking distance from town. Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday. It was awesome.
Go on, talk us through Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday,
that.
Dave.
It's a great chant, that one.
Joe, you go for Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday. What was all that about?
Shrewsbury was class, mate. Nights out, buzzing.
Only on a Sunday.
Local lads. We left it all out there on the pitch, the old game meadow. So when you're walking out to it, it's on the right. But this is why I reference it being on my left. The game finishes, you walk out. As soon as you get through the tunnel, on your left is the gym. And I was obviously well aware that. So my calculations were it's about 15 minutes to get home. Quick shower, get the clobber on. I could be out in town for 7:30. So 4:45. Win, lose or draw, me and Davey are spotting each other, whacking out bench presses and bicep curls for
arms and chest only.
No leg work there.
Sonetti t-shirt on, fresh. And then big night out in Shrewsbury, liquid, Barmed, whatever it was. Brilliant. All day on a Sunday in Barmed. I didn't watching the footy, and then Tuesday if we were at home, it's a Tuesday night. Club Diva or whatever it was. Yeah, that was the chant with the lads. Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday.
Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday.
We used to go out a ridiculous amount.
Loved it, mate.
Yeah.
Dave, what was Joe like as a lodger? Neat and tidy, do his chores and all that. Hoover up, washing up. Setting this up a little bit here.
Yeah, Joe's ready for a break.
He used to give me 60 quid a week, but I had to give that away to a cleaner, mate. He was so messy, but it was great fun. But I spoke about it before. We only had a real small house. It was a little terraced house, 2-bed, very, very small, and he's massive. Yeah. So just getting around, even in the living room, he's just massive, and he's just hard to get around. And then you put that with numerous numbers of Umbro boxes coming out of your ears, just left all over the house. Yeah. I'll be dipping into them here and there, but
you must have done all right, Dave. I bet.
Yeah, I had loads of Umbro gear.
Wearing Umbro and Sonetti on the night out.
All the lads must have been around all the time, taking all sorts.
It was good. That's been throughout. That's not changed.
So when I very first moved in, so Joe was always gonna come and live with me, so we agreed to sale and all that sorts of stuff, and we had to do some decorating. And I always remember me and my mum, I think it was, we were upstairs painting. I said and Joe come around and said, anything I can do? I said, the skirting board needs taken off downstairs. Can you help it? He's like, yeah, what toys? I said, the tools are down there, and there was like a crowbar down there. So I'd expect him just to use that. We got it all out ready. And I hear this massive oh, that doesn't sound good. All I hear from downstairs is, it's okay.
Was it okay?
I went down, mate, and he was taking the skirting board off with a spade. And he'd leave with the spade behind the skirting board and pushed, and he'd gone straight through the plasterboard. Had to get the whole wall replastered.
Really good at sport, but not DIY.
That 60 quid wasn't stretching very far.
No, not at all, mate. But
sorry about that, mate.
But we had an unbelievable time, didn't we?
Oh, it's class.
Just independence, wasn't it? We both moved out of home for the first time and going out. And even just in the daytime, we were always out and about in the quarry or whatever it was, playing football. Like we used to go and play football all the time, didn't we? Just take a ball right, which, you probably wouldn't see nowadays. But yeah, it's great fun.